The morning sun cast long shadows across the military base as Staff Sergeant Maria knelt beside her M82A1 sniper rifle. The weapon gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights of the armory, its massive frame commanding respect from anyone who understood its lethal capabilities. Maria's hands moved with practiced precision, her cleaning ritual as methodical as everything else in her military career. She had been assigned to Forward Operating Base Kandahar for 8 months now, and the routine had become second nature. Wake at 500, physical training, breakfast, weapons maintenance, training exercises, and repeat. The .50 caliber rifle was her responsibility, her tool, and in many ways her lifeline in this unforgiving landscape of Afghanistan. As she worked the cleaning rod through the barrel, Maria's mind wandered to her childhood in Texas. Growing up near the Mexican border, she had learned to shoot from her grandfather, a retired Marine who believed every person should know how to handle a firearm safely. Those weekend trips to the desert, learning to hit targets at impossible distances, had shaped her into the marksman she was today. The other soldiers in her unit often joked about her obsession with weapon maintenance. While they were playing cards or writing letters home, Maria could be found in the armory, ensuring her rifle was in perfect condition. She understood what many of them didn't, that in combat, a single misfire or malfunction could mean the difference between coming home alive or in a flag-draped coffin. Her commanding officer, Captain Stevens, had initially been skeptical when Maria first arrived. Female snipers were still relatively rare in the military, and many officers questioned whether women had the physical and mental toughness required for such demanding roles. Maria had proven herself quickly, scoring consistently high marks in marksmanship training and demonstrating the patience and discipline that separated good shooters from exceptional ones. The cleaning process was almost meditative for her. Each component of the rifle received careful attention: the bolt, the trigger assembly, the scope mounts. She checked for wear, corrosion, or any sign that the weapon might not perform when called upon. There was a complex machine capable of delivering a .50 caliber round accurately at distances exceeding 1,800 meters. In the right hands, it could disable vehicles, eliminate high-value targets, and provide overwatch protection for ground troops. As she reassembled the rifle, Maria reflected on her recent missions. 3 weeks earlier, her unit had been called to provide sniper support for a convoy operation in a particularly dangerous valley known for insurgent activity. The intelligence reports indicated multiple enemy positions along the route, and Maria's job was to provide covering fire from an overwatch position on a nearby. The mission had gone better than expected. From her concealed position 1,200 meters away, Maria had identified and engaged 4 separate threats before they could attack the convoy. Each shot had been precise, calculated, and devastating. The convoy had passed through without casualties, and the mission was deemed a complete success. What made that mission particularly significant was not just the successful completion, but the accuracy of her shots. Military snipers are trained to achieve first-round hits at various distances, but Maria's performance that day had been extraordinary. 4 targets, 4 different ranges, 4 perfect shots in less than 10 minutes. The spotters who worked with her had been amazed by her consistency and precision. In the weeks that followed, word of her performance had spread throughout the base. Other snipers began seeking her advice, asking about her techniques and training methods. Maria was humble about her abilities, always crediting her grandfather's early training and her commitment to constant practice. She spent hours each week on the shooting range, working on breathing techniques, trigger control, and reading environmental conditions. The military had always kept detailed records of sniper performance, tracking everything from shot accuracy to target identification time. Each successful engagement was documented, analyzed, and added to the shooter's service record. For Maria, these records were simply part of the job, numbers and statistics that helped the military evaluate training programs and tactical effectiveness. She had no idea that her recent string of perfect shots had caught the attention of someone far beyond her immediate command structure. In the intelligence community, exceptional marksmanship was noted and tracked, especially when it occurred in active combat situations. Maria's file had been flagged by analysts who specialized in identifying unusual patterns or remarkable performances. The rifle was now completely clean and reassembled. Maria performed a final function check, ensuring the bolt operated smoothly and the trigger reset properly. She attached the high-powered scope, carefully torquing the mounting screws to specification. The rifle was ready for whatever mission might come next. As she secured the weapon in its case, Maria noticed Captain Stevens approaching with an unusual expression on his face. He was accompanied by a soldier she didn't recognize, someone whose uniform bore insignia she couldn't immediately identify. The stranger was older, with graying hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Captain Stevens cleared his throat as they reached her position. The expression on his face was a mixture of curiosity and concern, as if he wasn't entirely sure what was happening but knew it was significant. The unknown officer stood silently, his eyes moving between Maria and the rifle case. Maria straightened to attention, uncertain about what was happening, but recognizing that this was no routine interaction. The atmosphere in the armory had shifted, becoming tense with unspoken questions and implications. She could sense that her morning routine was about to be interrupted by something far more significant than regular training or mission briefings. The stranger stepped forward, his gaze focused intently on the small collection of achievement badges and commendation ribbons on Maria's uniform. His eyes stopped on one particular badge, a marksmanship qualification badge that displayed her shooting scores and achievements. For a long moment, he studied the small piece of metal and fabric as if it contained information of critical importance. Captain Stevens seemed unsure how to begin the conversation. He glanced between Maria and the visiting officer, clearly waiting for guidance on how to proceed. The silence stretched uncomfortably, broken only by the distant sounds of military vehicles and training exercises echoing across the base. Maria remained at attention, her mind racing through possible explanations for this unusual encounter. Had she done something wrong? Was there a problem with her recent mission reports? Or perhaps this was related to a new assignment or training opportunity? The uncertainty was nerve-wracking, but she maintained her military bearing and waited for someone to explain what was happening. The visiting officer finally spoke, his voice carrying the authority of years of command experience. His words would set in motion a series of events that would change Maria's military career in ways she could never have imagined. The simple act of cleaning her rifle that morning had unknowingly prepared her for a moment that would define her future in the service and beyond. Brigadier General Robert Hammond had served in the United States Army for 28 years, commanding troops in every major conflict since the Gulf War. His reputation as a strategic thinker and keen observer of military talent was well established throughout the Pentagon. When he spoke, subordinates listened carefully, knowing that his insights could shape careers and operational outcomes. Standing in the cramped armory at Forward Operating Base Kandahar, General Hammond studied the young staff sergeant before him with the intensity of someone evaluating a puzzle piece that might complete a larger picture. His visit to this remote outpost was part of a broader assessment tour, examining how forward-deployed units were performing against increasingly sophisticated enemy tactics. "Staff Sergeant," the general began, his voice measured and professional. "I've been reviewing some interesting data from recent operations in this sector. Your name appears frequently in after-action reports, specifically regarding precision engagement outcomes." Maria maintained her position of attention, though her mind was spinning with questions. It was highly unusual for a general officer to personally review individual soldier performance, especially at her level. The fact that he had traveled to this remote base specifically to speak with her suggested something significant was happening. General Hammond gestured toward her marksmanship badge, the small piece of military hardware that displayed her shooting qualifications and achievements. "That badge indicates some impressive scores, Sergeant. But what I'm really interested in is how those range scores translate to combat effectiveness. Captain Stevens, would you brief me on Sergeant's recent operational performance?" Captain Stevens straightened, clearly nervous about briefing a general officer, but determined to accurately represent his soldiers' capabilities. "Yes, sir. Over the past 3 months, Staff Sergeant has participated in 14 combat operations requiring precision fire support. She has achieved a 100% first-round hit probability on all assigned targets, with engagement distances ranging from 800 to 1,500 meters. The general's eyebrows raised slightly. In his extensive military experience, he had worked with many exceptional snipers, but 100% accuracy over multiple combat operations was virtually unheard of. Most highly skilled snipers maintained hit probabilities in the 80 to 90% range, which was considered excellent under combat conditions. 100%. General Hammond repeated, his tone suggesting both surprise and skepticism. That's an extraordinary claim, Captain. What verification methods are you using to confirm these statistics? Captain Stevens had anticipated this question. Sir, all engagements are through multiple sources. We use spotter confirmation, drone surveillance footage when available, and ground truth assessment from follow-up patrols. Additionally, each engagement is documented with GPS coordinates, environmental conditions, and post-engagement damage assessment. General Hammond nodded approvingly. Military leaders at his level understood the importance of accurate data when evaluating operational capabilities. False or inflated statistics could lead to dangerous tactical decisions and unnecessary risk to personnel. Sergeant, the general addressed Maria directly. I'd like to understand your background and training methodology. What do you attribute your success to? Maria relaxed slightly from her rigid attention posture, though she remained formal and respectful. Sir, I began shooting with my grandfather when I was 12 years old. He emphasized the fundamentals: breathing, sight alignment, trigger control, and environmental awareness. When I enlisted, I continued developing those skills through military training programs and extensive practice. Tell me about your practice routine, General Hammond continued, genuinely curious about the factors contributing to such exceptional performance. Sir, I spend approximately 10 to 12 hours per week on marksmanship training beyond required military exercises. This includes dry fire practice, live fire training at various distances, and studying ballistics and environmental factors that affect bullet trajectory. I also maintain detailed logs of every shot I take, analyzing patterns and identifying areas for improvement. The general was impressed by her methodical approach. Most soldiers completed required training and moved on to other activities, but Maria clearly treated marksmanship as both a profession and a passion. Her dedication to continuous improvement was exactly the kind of attitude he looked for in exceptional military personnel. What about equipment maintenance? He asked, gesturing toward the rifle case. Sir, I perform complete weapons maintenance after every use, and preventive maintenance daily even when the weapon hasn't been fired. I believe that equipment reliability is just as important as shooter skill. A perfectly aimed shot means nothing if the weapon malfunctions. General Hammond exchanged a meaningful glance with Captain Stevens. This level of dedication and professionalism was exactly what he had hoped to find, but rarely encountered at such a high level. Maria represented the kind of soldier who could make a significant difference in specialized operations. Sergeant, the general continued, I'm going to share some information with you that is classified at the secret level. Do you currently hold a secret security clearance? Yes, sir, Maria replied, though she was becoming increasingly puzzled by the direction of this conversation. There is a developing situation in the southern Kandahar province that requires a very specific set of skills. Intelligence sources have identified a high-value target who has been coordinating attacks against NATO forces throughout this region. This individual has proven extremely elusive, using sophisticated counter-surveillance techniques and constantly changing locations. General Hammond paused, studying Maria's reaction before continuing. The target has established a pattern of briefly appearing at various locations to coordinate with local cell leaders. These appearances typically last only a few minutes, making conventional assault operations impractical. What we need is someone who can engage the target at long range with absolute certainty of success on the first shot. The implications of his words were becoming clear to Maria. This was not a routine briefing about general operational concepts. The general was describing a specific mission that might require her unique skills. Sir, she said carefully, are you asking if I would be willing to participate in such an operation? I'm evaluating whether you might be suitable for a specialized assignment, General Hammond replied diplomatically. Your demonstrated accuracy in combat situations has brought you to the attention of people at very high levels within the military command structure. However, this type of mission would involve significant risks and responsibilities beyond normal combat operations. Captain Stevens looked concerned about the direction of the conversation. While he was proud of his soldiers' achievements, he was also protective of his personnel and worried about the implications of high-level attention. Sir, Captain Stevens interjected respectfully, Staff Sergeant is a valuable member of this unit. Her loss would significantly impact our operational capabilities. General Hammond nodded understanding. I appreciate your concern for your soldier, Captain. Any assignment decisions would be made through proper channels with appropriate consultation. Right now, I'm simply conducting a preliminary assessment. He turned back to Maria. Sergeant, I want you to understand that exceptional ability often brings exceptional opportunities, but also exceptional burdens. The military has invested considerable resources in developing your skills, and there may come a time when those skills are needed for missions of critical importance to national security. Maria felt the weight of his words. Throughout her military career, she had focused on being the best soldier she could be, taking pride in her technical skills and professional competence. She had never imagined that her abilities might attract attention at such high levels or lead to assignments beyond conventional military operations. Sir, I understand, she replied. I joined the military to serve my country and protect my fellow soldiers. If my skills can contribute to that mission in any capacity, I'm honored to be considered. General Hammond smiled for the first time during their conversation. This was exactly the response he had hoped to hear: commitment to service, combined with understanding of the serious nature of specialized assignments. Excellent, Sergeant. I want you to continue your current duties and maintain your training regimen. Someone from my staff will be in contact with you within the next few days to discuss potential opportunities. In the meantime, everything we've discussed here remains confidential. As the general prepared to leave, he shook hands with both Maria and Captain Stevens. Captain, you have an exceptional soldier under your command. Take good care of her. After General Hammond departed, Maria and Captain Stevens stood in the armory, both trying to process what had just happened. The routine morning of weapons cleaning had transformed into a life-changing encounter that would reshape Maria's military career in ways neither of them could fully comprehend. 3 days after General Hammond's unexpected visit, Maria received orders that would change everything. She was to report to a classified briefing facility located in a secure compound 20 miles from her base. The transportation would be provided by military helicopter, and she was instructed to bring her personal gear and rifle system. The helicopter ride through the Afghan mountains gave Maria time to think about the rapidly changing circumstances of her military service. When she had enlisted 4 years earlier, her goal had been simple: serve her country, develop her skills, and build a foundation for a civilian career after her military commitment ended. Now, she found herself being considered for missions that seemed far beyond anything she had imagined. The secure facility was unlike any military installation she had previously encountered. High concrete walls surrounded a collection of nondescript buildings, and armed guards checked identification at multiple checkpoints. The personnel she observed wore a mixture of military uniforms and civilian clothing, suggesting a joint operation involving multiple agencies. Colonel Sarah Mitchell met Maria at the entrance to the main briefing building. She was a career intelligence officer with extensive experience in special operations, and her no-nonsense demeanor immediately conveyed the serious nature of whatever was about to be discussed. Staff Sergeant, Colonel Mitchell began as they walked through secure corridors, I want you to understand that everything you see and hear from this point forward is classified at the top secret level. You'll be required to sign additional security agreements before we proceed. Maria nodded her understanding. The military had trained her to handle classified information, but she sensed that this situation involved secrets far more sensitive than anything in her previous experience. The briefing room contained sophisticated communication equipment, large digital displays, and a conference table surrounded by officials she didn't recognize. General Hammond was present, along with several other senior officers and civilians whose exact roles were unclear but whose authority was obvious. Sergeant, General Hammond said as she entered, I'm pleased you've agreed to participate in this briefing. Please take a seat and we'll begin. Colonel Mitchell activated one of the large displays, showing a detailed satellite map of a mountainous region in southern Afghanistan. Red markers indicated various locations, connected by lines that suggested movement patterns or communication networks. For the past 8 months, Colonel Mitchell began, coalition intelligence agencies have been tracking an individual known by the code name, the Engineer. This person is believed to be responsible for designing and coordinating improvised explosive device attacks that have killed or wounded over 200 coalition personnel. The display changed to show photographs of damaged vehicles and casualty statistics. Maria felt a chill as she realized the personal stakes involved in whatever mission was being planned. These weren't abstract strategic objectives. They were about protecting soldiers like herself and her fellow service members. The engineer has proven extremely difficult to locate and engage through conventional means, Colonel Mitchell continued. He uses sophisticated counter-surveillance techniques, rarely stays in one location for more than a few hours, and maintains operational security that has frustrated our intelligence-gathering efforts. General Hammond took over the briefing. However, recent intelligence has identified a pattern that may provide an opportunity. Once every 2 weeks, the engineer personally meets with cell leaders at various locations to provide technical guidance and coordinate attacks. These meetings typically last 15 to 20 minutes, but they represent our only reliable opportunity to engage the target. A new image appeared on the display, aerial surveillance footage showing a small compound nestled in a remote valley. The resolution was remarkably clear, showing details of buildings, vehicles, and human activity. Intelligence sources indicate that the engineer will attend a meeting at this location in 5 days, General Hammond explained. The compound is situated in a valley that offers limited approaches for ground assault teams. However, there is an overwatch position approximately 1,800 meters away that provides a clear line of sight to the meeting area. Maria studied the images carefully, her trained eye automatically evaluating shooting positions, environmental factors, and potential complications. The distance was at the extreme range of the rifle system, requiring perfect conditions and flawless execution. Sergeant, Colonel Mitchell addressed her directly, based on your demonstrated accuracy and the specific requirements of this mission, you have been selected as the primary shooter for this operation. Are you willing to accept this assignment? The weight of the decision pressed down on Maria like a physical force. This was far beyond anything she had encountered in her military career, a mission with strategic implications that could affect the safety of hundreds of coalition personnel. The technical challenges were enormous, and the pressure to succeed would be unlike anything she had ever experienced. Ma'am, Maria replied, I understand the importance of this mission. I'm honored to be selected, and I accept the assignment. General Hammond nodded approvingly. Excellent. Now let's discuss the specific tactical requirements and support elements that will be available to you. The briefing continued for 3 hours, covering every aspect of the planned operation. Maria would be inserted by helicopter at night, along with a small team of special operations personnel who would provide security and communication support. Her shooting position would be established on a ridge overlooking the target compound, with multiple escape routes planned in case the operation was compromised. Weather forecasts indicated favorable conditions for the planned day of the mission, light winds and clear visibility. However, the 1,800-meter shot would still require precise calculations for bullet drop, wind drift, and atmospheric conditions at that extreme range. Sergeant, General Hammond said as the briefing concluded, I want you to understand that this mission carries significant personal and professional risks. If you have any doubts about your ability to successfully complete this assignment, now is the time to voice them. Maria considered the question carefully. The technical challenges were daunting, and the pressure would be enormous. However, her training and experience had prepared her for exactly this type of situation. More importantly, the mission represented an opportunity to make a meaningful contribution to the safety of her fellow service members. Sir, she replied with confidence, I'm ready to complete this mission. Over the following days, Maria underwent intensive preparation for the assignment. She studied detailed intelligence reports about the target, practiced shooting at extended ranges under various environmental conditions, and rehearsed every aspect of the mission plan. Her rifle was meticulously prepared, with each component tested and to ensure perfect reliability. The night before the mission, Maria spent time reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. From her grandfather's early shooting lessons to her decision to enlist in the military, each step had contributed to preparing her for this moment. The simple act of cleaning her rifle that morning, when General Hammond first noticed her, had been the beginning of an extraordinary chapter in her military career. As she prepared her equipment for the mission, Maria felt a calm confidence that came from thorough preparation and absolute commitment to success. Tomorrow, she would face the ultimate test of her skills as a marksman and her dedication as a soldier. The impossible shot record on her badge had brought her to this moment, and she was ready to add one more perfect shot to that record, the one that would matter most of all. The mission would demand everything she had learned about marksmanship, mental discipline, and professional commitment. Success would protect countless coalition personnel and strike a significant blow against enemy operations. Failure was not an option she was willing to consider. With her rifle perfectly maintained and her mind focused on the task ahead, Maria prepared for the mission that would define her military legacy and demonstrate the true meaning of precision under pressure.